We are only successful if the partner is successful. Hey man, I have talked to a lot of business owners across the country, and a lifestyle business can be freaking awesome. If you want to sell a bunch of work, you need to get a bunch of leads. If you want to produce a bunch of work, you got to have a bunch of labor to do that, because that's actually what makes you money, is not what you sell, but what you produce. If you want to take it upon yourself to generate your own opportunities, we want to incentivize that with opportunity for additional compensation. And the winter is a great time to build those accounts. That's a great time to drop off donuts and shake hands and go to the dinners and all that kind of stuff. So that's the time to invest in those relationships that are going to make your year next year awesome.
On this episode, we talked to Hoken Hansen. He's the operating partner at Aleph Holdings. He's also director of development for them. We talk about just his growth and the building of Paris Painting, which is now on pace to do 15 million in 2025. And we really get into the weeds with the organization structure of a $15 million business. We also talk a little bit about Aleph Holdings and their company and kind of how they look at partnering with other painting companies. So fun conversation. Hope you enjoy it. All right. Welcome to the Painting Business Pro podcast. I have a special guest here. Hoken Hansen, partner at Aleph Holdings and director of development for their ventures. Hoken is also a key member in building Paris Painting, which is now on pace for 15 million in 2025, which is quite the feat. Hoken, thanks so much for being on, man. I'm excited for this combo.
Ben, I've been looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, let's just kick things right off. Give us like a quick background history on you, because you have quite the rap sheet. So tell us why you're so great and amazing.
Well, so Hoken Hansen, Hoken Lon Hansen, about as Norwegian of a name as you can get.
Yeah.
I have 5 kids with my lovely wife, and the name of my kids are Ola, Hoken, Bjorn, Ingrid, and Magnus. So
wow, pretty
on the nose there on the Norwegian side. My great grandfather came here from Norway in 1922. So I'm very proud of that, and that's a big piece. But yeah, man, yeah. I have a corporate finance background, and that's what I did right out of school. And then in 2017, joined up with Mr. Jason Paris and Chet Funk, who was the other partner at the time, and jumped into this painting industry. And it's been fun building Paris Painting, largely kind of on the sales side, a little bit of utility knife, did a bunch of different things. And we've had a hold co type strategy since 2019. So we acquired a construction company locally, helped run that, build that out. And then we started partnering with other painting businesses, investing in other painting businesses about 4 years ago. And then I've been in like our director of development, kind of our M&A guy. So kind of feel out opportunities for folks who might be interested in a partnership with Aleph, and just help steward that discovery process. Are we a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for us? Deal formation, all that good stuff, which I really, really enjoy. So that's a little bit of the background, but big nice. Family guy, obviously. That's where a lot of my time goes outside of work, obviously.
Yeah, with 5 of them. Yeah, that's something. I forgot to ask you when we were on a podcast together, a month ago or so on your podcast, and you were wearing Viore at the time as well. So you're a big Viore guy?
I wouldn't say big, but it's good. I like vests.
You're a vest guy.
This is from the, finance bro, vest, right?
Yeah.
But I just always been a vest guy, and they make a nice light vest. Kind of a year rounder. So yeah.
Dude, I'm pretty much all Viore now. Especially workout clothes wise, like Viore shorts, Viore shirt, they're the best. They're so great. Yeah.
All their models are very beautiful. So I definitely feel good. I feel like 10% more attractive whenever I wear Viore stuff.
100%. Yeah, I do too. We could just talk about Viore because what a great business model that is. I mean, we could just get into the weeds with what he's built. I forget his name, but quite a business there. So tell us about, so when did Paris Painting start? I mean, to be trending for, you did 12 million last year, 2024, on pace for 15 million this year. I mean, you're in the top 1% of the 1% of painting companies. So when did that start, and how have you guys become so successful?
Yeah, man. So Jason Paris, probably a pretty familiar name for a lot of listeners, but he started Paris Painting in 2012. And, he had a college pro background, so college pro painters, and took a little side quest into the corporate world for a little bit, and then came back to the painting industry. So he was grinding away and kind of just applying a lot of the college pro model to his own brand. Did that. Chet Funk came along. Chet and Jason knew each other, previously. Chet was part of the college pro sphere as well. And they partnered, and I would say that was a big turning point. So Jason, to his credit, he always, he was not in painting because he was a craftsman guy or he loved painting, right? He wanted to build a business, and this was an avenue to do that. And Jason's really good at enduring pain. Like, that's kind of his secret sauce of like,
yeah.
And now that his business life is pretty darn stable, he tortures himself in ultra marathons to get that itch, right? So that was Jason's skill set. Chet is an extremely talented visionary. And I think visionary is one of those things that's like sexy, and it's people like to fancy themselves visionaries.
Buzzy type word. Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to be that? Right.
Right.
But there is like, I think the most effective visionaries, it's like that. They're really good at making sure that vision, the ideation and stuff, gets like tangible into, okay, what are we going to do this week about it? And Chet is very talented in that way. I think he is a very unconstrained yet clear thinker, but he also appreciates like this has to get into action. And Jason is just very good at, like, he has a high bias towards action, and just unemotionally is like, if something's clear, all right, let's go. And he has a high pain tolerance. So they were just kind of a beautiful pair in kind of leading us forward initially. And then I would say Chet has done a good job of recruiting. Most of the good visionaries, they need to have some magnetism to them. And I think Chet had that. So, and Jason started this. So those are some like talent things. I would say culture wise, of like humility. Like, I don't really care we don't care who gets the praise or whatnot. Like, I just want to do a good job. I want to see the business succeed. And Jason, just in even being open to partnership. Like I was on a call yesterday with somebody who we were talking about a partnership and our model and different things. And I have this pet peeve when people are like, they say, give up equity. Why would I give up equity? Give up equity. I don't think you should ever give up equity. Of course, that's stupid. But taking on a partner who might pay you for your equity and bring, disproportionate value to that equity, that's a great thing. Or in the right circumstances. Jason just always thought that way. Like, he wasn't emotional about, this is my business, or his identity wasn't like really wrapped up into it. He wanted it to be successful, and he understood that there's certain things he's good at, certain things he's not. So I think that kind of humility just allowed us all to be free to be honest about that with our like, hey, I'm not that good at this. I need help. So I think there's just a culture of like honesty and coaching and being okay with like not being the best, but being open to getting better. And and just good team form. So, I mean, that's not, I kind of tell people, I really don't believe that Paris is doing anything that is like light years different than the other, best in class painting companies across the country. I think that the people that we have are special. I think the culture that we have is special, and that's kind of been the difference.
People and culture. Yeah, I love that. So what is the actual like org chart real fast, just for people to get a sense of $15 million? Like what's the, top down org chart of a company like that?
Yeah, I would say to answer this, it's probably helpful to be like, hey, there are different painting companies that are addressing different market needs. So I just say that because, I don't know, a commercial painting company versus a residential versus a high-end custom homes versus a block and tackle exterior repaint. Those can be somewhat different. So Paris historically is a largely exterior repaint. Right, 80+% of our revenue is exteriors. The type of homes that we're doing are your suburban homes. We do some like older restorative type stuff, lead based paint stuff in older neighborhoods as well. But anyway, so labor, like over 90% subcontractor, right? Just by necessity. Exterior focus. We're in Minnesota, very seasonal business. And so that would be on the labor side, but somewhat we're big believers in what we call the core three. So we have salespeople that's all they do. We have project managers, that's what they do. And then we have project coordinators that sit in between that. The project coordinator, so the salesperson's job is, from lead to contract. The coordinator picks that up and they, get it ready for production, finalize colors, make sure the deposits are in, options, things like that. And then project manager takes over a day or so before the job starts. And they're the boots on the ground kind of field marshals with the labor and stuff. We kind of think about growing a business as like you're scaling that 3-pack. It's like, so we're a big traction group. So that's definitely an element of how we look at an org chart is through the lens of the traction model. So we have a visionary, Micah Stelter sits in that Paris painting visionary seat. Mark Nelson sits in the integrator seat. And then we have our sales and marketing function. We have our production function, and then we have our kind of admin, finance, et cetera. So this on the sales side, Paris has 10 salespeople, I think, and there's like 2 player coaches. So that team is split up into 2 guys who have a kind of a smaller quota themselves that they're going to be selling, but then they're also having weekly support accountability meetings with their guys. And then Micah meets with those 2 sales managers. And then on the production side, somewhat similar, there's 1 kind of player coach, and then I think there's 8 project managers. And Mark, the integrator, he kind of grew up out of the production side of the business into that integrator seat. So he oversees the coordination team. He also oversees kind of some of the project managers and that kind of lead. Okay. So, admin, just to kind of round it out, like that is somewhat fractional. So we have our partnership model. So that's a bit of a, like, it's not too dissimilar from like hiring a fractional CFO or a bookkeeping company. It's just, it's kind of in-house, but it functions in a fractional way for Paris.
Okay. So like Aleph Holdings manages admin and financial side for Paris plus all your other companies?
Correct. There's no, yep. Yeah. So it's all employees that touch the finances for Paris.
Okay, nice. And so was it Micah? Is he the visionary? Is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Is he considered the CEO, or do you guys even use any of those titles? Okay.
Yep.
He's the CEO.
Yep.
Got it. It's like CEO, COO is, is Mark. Okay. And then you have coaches underneath them. Not many though. That's great. So 2 coaches for sales, 1 coach for PMs. And then you have your core team of around 8 PMs and 10 sales reps.
Yep. And then, the coordination team, there's like six coordinators with like a lead coordinator. So that lead coordinator is, meeting with, so she's doing some coordination herself. She's also meeting one-on-one with the other coordinators, helping them, coaching, developing them. And then Mark, meets with her and helps her in that endeavor. There is small marketing. So there's 2 marketing staff. So Caleb is the marketing manager. We're very fortunate to have Caleb. He's a stud.
Nice.
And then he has 2 people on his team. They're a new one somewhat recently. So Caleb is all things marketing strategy, campaigns, spend, nitty gritty of that. And then he's got 2 folks that help support with some of the scheduling, I guess CSR. Some people would kind of term it that way. Taking incoming calls, scheduling, and then kind of miscellaneous support on some marketing campaign stuff.
Okay. Nice. Well, I think it's good for the listeners. I mean, because it's a different model than what we have, for our company. And they both really work. I mean, I think that's like one thing to point to. One is the simplicity of it. Ours is quite similar as far as player coaches, and then the teams at PM and sales reps. We just have office managers who are really like SDRs and set up, the sale for the production or for the sales team. And we have 2 office managers that do that full time. And then we have a marketing director, and she oversees those office managers, and she, manages our whole marketing mix. So what's cool, just again, for the listeners, it's like, it doesn't need to look insane, to run a $15 million company. It does take intention and real focus on planning it out though. Like I'm sure you guys didn't just come up with this overnight, this core 3 principle. Yeah.
I don't know. The way we look at a painting business that's growing, we don't year to year, we have goals, percentage growth goals, and we kind of think that way, but all that means is people, right? If I'm going to grow by $2 million, well, there's a bunch of leads that need to go. That means marketing spend. That means leads. That means appointments. That means an SR. That means, right? It's just the revenue simply just represents a bunch of additional activity from humans. And so I think we're just really dialed in on the roles, and scaling the business is just about scaling the roles. So
nice. I love that. So, okay, that's cool to see. Yeah, just a breakdown of the org chart there. And is that with Aleph Holdings, is that with the other companies you all partner with, is that the same strategy you want to use for all companies, or is there, how much say do other companies have as far as their org chart and their, ability to, or how they're going to scale their business?
Yeah. So I would say, Aleph is not a majority owner in our partnerships. We're a minority, non-controlling partner. Mm-hmm. So the founder, they maintain majority ownership and control. So this is in large ways like their call, like what type of org chart do they want to run, et cetera. I would say generally speaking, some of the we're pretty effective in how we organize businesses. So I think that tends to be a bit of the draw of why they might be feeling that as a bit of a lack or disorganized and, benefiting from. So generally, some of those roles are not always like a 1-for-1 in our other businesses. The other thing too is, I guess Paris didn't always look like this, right? So yeah. At different stages, like right now, there's a clean break between coordinators and marketing and that. Well, the coordinator did a little bit of that in previous life as well. Like whenever we were smaller and the budget was smaller, the coordinator, their role was a little less specialized. So that happens. Like scalability affords you, if you do it effectively, it affords you specialization. So, and our partners are at different sizes, so we don't force fit anything. I think I do believe, Gino Wickman's traction, his EOS way of looking at it, is a really helpful way to just, this is what happens in a business. There's sales and marketing, there's, production, there's finance, and you need dynamic leadership on top of that, both a visionary and integrator type of leadership. Whatever you call those things, I think knowing that those things are happening in your business and you need to org chart around those core principles, that's more of the way that we look at this. We don't get too hung up on, being hyper prescriptive.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. And we do similar with National Painting Group. It's like, we're minority partners. Founder has the final say. We give our recommendations, and sometimes those recommendations are stronger than others, but at the end of the day, you're going to make your decisions. We support you with that. So, real quick, I want to get more into Aleph, but just, we're getting into seasonality, or as far as we're getting into slower season with most regions in the US. How do you, Minnesota more than most, so how do you guys battle, or not battle is probably not the right word. How do you deal with the slow season, that November through February, you guys just kind of turn the lights off and just hibernate, or do you have marketing strategies and plans to, book and produce work in the wintertime?
Yeah. So, couple of things on the labor side of things. We've always loved the sub model. One of the benefits of it is this type of seasonality stuff, right? You can scale up and scale down your labor. We like it for other reasons too, but that's a beneficial side on the labor side. When it comes to sales and production staff, it's a little bit different. I would say our sales team, we compensate our sales team based on not just how much they're selling, but in the profitability of what they sell, but how much marketing spend did the business need to incur in order to get you that opportunity. So if you want to take it upon yourself to generate your own opportunities, we want to incentivize that with opportunity for additional compensation. And the winter is a great time to build those accounts. That's a great time to drop off donuts and shake hands and go to the dinners and all that kind of stuff. So there's not going to be time for that, because you're going to have bids, all day, every day that you need to get to and closing deals and stuff. Whenever it slows down in the winter, it's that's the time to invest in those relationships that are going to make your year next year awesome, by bringing you opportunities with, property managers, general contractors, things like that. So that's a bit how we, culture wise and time wise, how we structure that. And then on the project management side, two things. One, there is a bit of an expectation whenever they are hired that, hey, we're an exterior heavy business. Summer's going to be super busy for you. So you're going to work a lot of hours in the summer, and that is going to change in the winter. So our project managers are W-2 employees. So we don't lay them off, but yeah, they might work 25, 30 hours, in the week, and we're okay with that. It's kind of yep, that you should plan vacation, do all that stuff. So there is just a little bit of you're going to, more is going to be asked of you in the summer and less is going to be asked of you in the winter. And is that okay for your lifestyle? Does that work for you? Yeah. So there's that. In the same way, we look at production capacity the same in a similar way. It's all right, if you want to sell a bunch of work, you need to get a bunch of leads. Well, if you want to produce a bunch of work, because that's actually what makes you money, is not what you sell, but what you produce. You got to have a bunch of labor to do that. So we're constantly always trying to fill the bench with better and more subs. So the winter is a great time to do that. Network with subs, interview them, check in with them, and kind of use that downtime to kind of build that labor bench, so that when things get busy, you're never in a pinch where it's like, I don't, the client's ready, I have a job, but I don't have a crew to produce it. So we encourage them to do those activities in the winter too.
Okay, nice. Yeah, very similar to us. I think that's good for those listening. Like when you're recruiting and hiring sales reps and production managers, it's like, yeah, you're going to work more, in the summertime. Like it's going to be busier, and the payoff to that is in the winter. Take those vacations, like take time off, be with family during the holidays. We want you to do that, and it's because it's not a straight normal corporate 9-to-5 job where you're just always working 40 hours a week, just not going to be that way. Yeah,
for sure. We're very much like a results-based group.
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of don't care how many hours it takes you. I pay off of a result. So that's a bit of the culture. They have freedom.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk Aleph Holdings a little bit. So for those listening, I don't know how much people know about National Painting Group or Aleph Holdings. We're like, we have good cooperation, I feel like, already, to coin Jason's word he used. We're similar as far as we acquire, painting companies and help them scale their business and exit if they want to. And if they don't want to, that's fine. But yeah. So with Aleph, we have a lot of questions, but I guess when you guys are in talks with partnering with a CEO or a founder, are there certain things y'all look for, or things you see of like these are some key things that a successful business is doing, and these are the things that maybe not a successful business are doing, and how you guys kind of determine who to partner with? I guess we'd start there, or whatever you want to say about it.
Yeah, totally. So our partnership, this is why we love equity partnerships as opposed to like, coaching has its place. But it can be a different thing in that, like, we are only successful if the partner is successful. Like our success is tied together. So there's an element of, what we are drawn to is areas that we feel confident that we can help. So I kind of look at it that way. There is an element of what Aleph is. Aleph is a solution for folks who want to build their business into a stable asset. And that's not for everybody. And how do you define that? For us, a stable asset is like the profit is predictable. Generally that means like a painting business that can kick off like $1 million of free cash flow and do that predictably year to year. And it's not dependent on, one or two people. It's not one or two people quitting away from that going away. Generally, from our experience, that's going to require a management team that have a vested interest in the business kicking off $1 million of cash every year. And I would just say this is kind of the floor of what we're interested in. If an owner is not interested in the same thing, we're probably not a good fit. But obviously we're happy, and we have partners who have much further ambitions than that. But generally you're going to need a vested management team. To afford a management team is typically going to require at least 7-8 million in revenue. So the revenue is probably going to change. Inflation, different things year to year is going to be different. It's not so much of a revenue number chase for us as it is, like I said, like what's the team that stabilizes the income. So I would say if a founder doesn't have that type of ambition, or that's not, and this is a thing that kind of gets thrown around of like the lifestyle business versus an asset or whatnot. And I just sometimes the lifestyle business is almost like a pejorative of like, it's like, oh, you're playing business, because it's like really just you. Hey man, I have talked to a lot of business owners across the country, and a lifestyle business can be freaking awesome. Like I get off of many calls where folks are like, no, I don't want to scale my business to 7, 8, 9, 10 million. Like what? And I'm like, yeah, dude, why would you? Like, you're killing it. Like you are lean. It's simple. You're making good money, right? So nothing wrong with that. I would say what tends to be the case though is life is all about seasons, and stability and things like that can matter more in different seasons. I would also say a business that maintains where it's at is generally just going to have a cap on the ability of others to earn and have career advancement and growth opportunity. And that's not like, I don't think that's a moral bad thing. It's just a consideration. A lot of the folks that partner with us, one of the driving forces of that is they have really good people. They don't want to lose those people. And they recognize, hey, if this thing doesn't like mature past where I have been able to take it, I'm going to lose these people because they have ambitions and they have goals. And I want my business to be a place that, they can grow with it. So all that to say, like, I'm just sharing, these are more of the kind of qualitative things where it's like the mindset of an owner that we look for. A little bit more like practical, generally speaking, like we're looking for businesses that are kind of 2.5, 3 million in revenue. And again, the revenue is not as important as what that is typically indicative of is you have a couple salespeople, you have a couple production staff, you have a decent marketing budget that you've deployed, maybe you've worked with a coach or you're invested in the business. You have some software and some systems, but to kind of get past that, that is sometimes where founders just typically start to run into some challenge. I would say like founders have a unique ability to kind of go from that 0 to 3 million, and person to person, maybe it's 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, maybe it's 8 million. Like it can be different. But generally, the person that takes it from 0 to that is not always the same person that, Jason talks about this a lot. It's not typically the same person that's going to professionalize and kind of recreate the business again. Like again, Jason is an incredible 0 to 1 guy, and Jason is not a good, professionalizer. And I would say like some of the integrators that we have are like, I feel some of the best in the country in this industry, but I think that like they might struggle to start a business from the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
completely different skill sets. Yeah.
Yep. And generally kind of that $3 to $5 million window is typically where we found the most amount of founders start to kind of run into that, where there's like, this is not fun for me anymore. Like I have people, I have to manage them, coach them, develop them. The tech is complicated. The systems are not scaling anymore. And I'm not operating in my zone of energy. And Aleph is uniquely good at those systems, that infrastructure, developing people, coaching people. And so that's where we complement folks the best.
Hey, Eric here. Pretty much every person that you've heard on this podcast or you listen to is someone that we work with at Painting Business Pro. We've coached some of them. We've even become business partners with. What we do at Painting Business Pro is help people who are starting or growing a painting company grow an amazing business with great profit while enjoying an amazing lifestyle along the way. And transparently, our goal is that for the right people, we actually end up making a minority acquisition, help you grow your business even further as a partner of ours in our company. If you're someone who's serious about growing your company, living a great life, and you want some help doing it, we love what we do. We're very good at it. We do it in our own businesses right now. Head over to paintingbusinesspro.com and hit apply now. And we look forward to talking with you soon.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So that's kind of where you're looking for, is that founder who's kind of stalled out maybe a little bit in that, $2 to $5 million range. Yeah. And maybe they don't love coaching and leading a bunch of people, they just don't they just don't love it, or they don't, maybe it's not their strength necessarily, like good at the hustle and grind it takes to get to 2 million a year or 3 million a year. But then it's, more, or I think you said the word professionalizing the business, like the branding and the, the big marketing mix, the budget management, the hiring and recruiting, all that. Yeah. Yeah. We find the same thing for sure. I mean, we're a little lower than you as far as what we're looking for. You guys are ahead of us definitely in who you're acquiring or the size of the business. But we find the same thing where it's like, there's some people we talk to and it's, hey, you want to golf 60 days a year and have an awesome, work 15 hours a week and make, $500,000 a year. Like, I don't fault you for that. If I had 9 lives, one of them would be that, for me, but I'm not committed to that, but I get it 100%. And there's no faulting in that. But yeah, if you want to scale something to a $15 million or 10 or whatever, it just takes a whole different focus and vision, and skill set. So, so with Aleph, what's your guys' like long-term plan? I mean, you guys have like a big goals there. Like what's the end game, I guess, if there is one?
Yeah, I would say there's not a master plan. And I think this is something of just trying to be humble of like, man, we're so grateful. Like, we're grateful for the human beings that we have. We're grateful for that this has kind of worked and this industry has so much opportunity. And, you said earlier, Paris painting is, in the kind of 1% of 1%. We're big believers of like, that doesn't need to be the case. Like I think there can be a lot more $15 million painting companies. I think it's like, and I'm a big believer that partnership is one of the main ways that is going to happen, can happen. I think if you look to other industries that generally just have bigger companies, I think you see partnership, like, in force. So we're kind of enjoying it from the start. Our desire, like it's like if you read 3 books, you would kind of have Aleph nailed. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, The E-Myth, and Traction. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's like small business equities and real estate. So that's what we're interested in. We've just kind of embraced painting companies, generally speaking, are not super valuable assets. So even when they're stabilized, they are not like, the world does not look at them as very, very valuable. But they are awesome for generating cash flow. So our strategy has been, scale and stabilize cash flow through painting businesses, and then deploy that cash flow into other asset classes that do have a higher, valuation and, flip better, whatever. So real estate has been kind of the primary thing. We're not interested in like selling to private equity. Frankly, the way that we structure things makes that pretty kind of impossible to. The way that we structure each individual partnership, we don't have control. So private equity would not love to buy a bunch of equity positions that don't have control, but which is fine because that's not the plan. So, I don't know. We have 20 partners right now, and we'll see where it goes. I think we're just very, very focused on helping our partners grow their businesses, stabilize, create opportunities for the folks in those businesses. Focused on that.
Nice. I love it.
How about you guys? Can I reverse that?
Yeah. Similar. Like we used to have big grandiose goals and it's not that way anymore. I think gratitude is something we're just so super connected to as well. And humility of like, we love being in business with people we love being in business with. Like, I just love partnering with people that share our values and want to just make a difference, like in the trade industry and really in business. Like, this is my personal belief that I think the franchise model is kind of broken. And I know there's exceptions to that, but it just kind of pins the franchisor and the franchisee against each other. And, franchisor generally wants revenue, franchisee wants profit, and it's just not, usually the franchisee loses out quite a bit, I think. And so I think we've found a bit of a niche, and you guys have too, with, we're going to take minority ownership, help you scale this thing, but we're aligned to the same stuff. We want a healthy, stable business. We want you to love being in business and not be trying to just like get out because it's so stressful. Doesn't mean you can't. You can definitely install a CEO and not work anymore, but let's have it be a fun business to be in before you just bounce out of it, So yeah, I don't know. Like, we have 13 partners right now. We have kind of a waiting list of more partners that want to hop on with us, but we gotta build out our infrastructure first. That's what the next 2 quarters are about for us. It's kind of busy, but, yeah, I can see us getting into other industries for sure. Eventually, and I don't want to be the one doing that. Like my skill set personally is not starting businesses and launching new businesses, but, supporting the structure once it's built out and supporting the strategic planning, once if we get into Windows, and we're doing 5 million a year there, how do we go from 5 to 15, and 20? So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We like to kind of keep it open now, because every time we plan and then we start shooting for that, it just never, a year passes and everything changes like all the time.
Sure.
So we've kind of stopped. We have, some ideas out in the future, but we stopped being so just like, we just got to go there, because it just doesn't work that way, or it hasn't for us at least. So
yeah. And this is cool too. There's an element of what do our partners want? So
yeah, that too.
That is, Aleph is a partner. Aleph is not, a corporate overlord. So there's an element of like, what are the needs of our partners? So that changes and shifts. And so they give us input of like, what do they want us to provide or not want us to provide, or support do they need, not need? What goals do they have? And what are we helping? So yeah, year to year right now, it's just keeping good. And we have great rhythms for this of just communication and dialogue back and forth.
Yeah.
So pretty clear. Nice. We're pretty clear, like 18 months out, not as clear, 5 years out.
5 years. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I will say we'll have to talk again. I want to learn more about everything you do with real estate, and I'm personally, that's just something that I want to get more into. Actually, more like for me, buying land and making sure if it's developed in the right way. But also just like buying up land and letting it just be land, and like, doing the right thing, with it. And that takes a lot of cash. I know. That's why what you said, and for everyone listening, yeah, painting companies are not very valuable. There's key man risk. There's not too much proprietary, unless you have a lot of recurring contracts. But even then, it's not looked at as like that valuable, but it is, very great with cash flow, definitely can be a cash cow. So,
and I don't want to offend anybody by saying that, and maybe just like technically describing that a little bit more, because it kind of makes sense too. Like, right, the multiples that these painting businesses typically trade for, if you sell a business, typically it's going to be a multiple on the net income that business produces, and 2 to 4x typically. Right. And I would just tell you, the 4 is like a way lower percentage than the 2. Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, versus, right, some of these AI companies are trading off of like tens of multiples of their revenue, and they're losing money, right? So it's just, and why is that, right? But I mean, painting companies are kind of tough. It's project-based revenue. So you get, right, Paris on trending for 50 million this year. We get to January 1 and that 50 million like does not matter anymore, because we got to go do all of that again, right? The following year. There's no recurring revenue in this. It's project-based revenue. When you use subcontractors, things like that can make financing more difficult. to, if a company is trying to buy your business and it's a heavily subcontractor labor base. Sometimes financial institutions don't love that, just because you don't own your labor source. And so how can I know that you can for sure, keep your revenue going, things like that. The barrier of entry in many states is very, very low. So that like the competitive moat of a painting business is very different than proprietary software. On the value piece, not to a painting company owner might hear that and be like, what do you mean my company's not valuable? It's very valuable to you. It's just technically in the marketplace, painting companies are not as highly valued as other businesses. And there's pretty good reasons for that. There's a very low barrier of entry to painting businesses. We love that, right? Because that's how a lot of us got into a lot of folks get into the industry, because it's like, I needed a job and they just picked up a paintbrush, started knocking on doors, and now they have a legitimate business. God bless America. Mm-hmm. But that there's no, competitive moat there versus proprietary software or something like that, right, that you have a patent on. So that devalues the business, that a lot of people can jump into and be competitive. Subcontractor labor can present issues for financing because you don't own your labor source. So, how do I know for sure that you're going to produce the same amount of revenue next year if you don't own your labor source? A bank that's a pretty good question for a bank to ask, right? So, some of these things are just considered more risky, and that's why banks, private equity companies, things like that, they just don't value these businesses like they do even HVAC businesses, electrical businesses that, the codes and all those requirements create a lot of stability into that market, right? Yeah. Painting just doesn't have that same stability. So
exactly,
that's what we mean of like, they're not as valuable, just technically speaking, but that's okay. We don't care, because the cash flow is awesome, because they don't take a lot of money to run, and you can stabilize them and they can be great.
Yeah, they can be super great. And I think with the right, if you're a business owner kind of stuck working a ton, making good money, but still working a ton, like I think that's where partnership is an option. It's something like, check out Aleph Holdings if you're listening, call us, obviously National Painting Group, if you're interested, talk to Eric. But yeah, it's really worked well. It's just, for us, it's just been such a win-win, for our partners, just to, and for us, like, it's really working well, because we're all aligned to the same thing. We all want to run good businesses. We all want to make good money and have wealth, and everyone defines that differently for themselves. But at the same time, not be working 100 hours a week, like, be having a good work-life balance where they see their kids' football, the kids' sports games and all that too. I think like basically everybody wants that. So, yeah.
It's like the partnership valuation. It's generally speaking, why would you take on a partner? They can help you get to your goal, whatever that goal might be, like faster. They can improve the probability of you hitting that goal, or they can improve the quality of your life on your way to it. Those are kind of the three buckets that we talk about. And there's an element too of like, percentages don't matter at the end of the day. It's, what does your percentage get you? What are you getting for your percentage? Right. I would trade my equity in Aleph for 1% of Tesla. So it's what is my percentage getting me? And I'm not here to convince anybody that, taking a lower percentage and that not ultimately being worth more than your 100% is a good idea. No, like, never do that.
Don't do that.
Unless there's some compelling reason outside of financial, but that's the lens that you got to look through. And again, going back to Jason, that's the lens that Jason looked at it through.
Awesome. Well, Hoken, man, this was a great combo. Good to hear all about, definitely just the success with Paris Painting, and how you're copying that and using that with all your other partners at Aleph Holdings. So this was a super great combo. Hopefully everyone listening got a lot out of it. We'll definitely have you on again, because I have so many more questions for you. But yeah, man, thanks so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it. We're big fans of what you guys have going on, and a lot of respect for you guys as well. So glad that we're getting to know each other a bit more.
Yeah. Feelings mutual. All right, man. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Later.
All right.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a quick review for the podcast and what you gotten out of it. It helps our show reach more people and inspire more people. Thank you so much.